Okay, so everything is in the same color. All the backgrounds are the same color, and this is no coincidence because this is an event, a psychoacademy event, and a little bit told me that some of you know the name Asseco, the brand Asseco, and we're going to talk about it a little bit in the end. As for now, we'll be warming up. I need my notes, which are of course done on a post-it, because that's the only way to do notes when you are without doing such a thing. When you're an agile person, then but the post-its are only allowed way of making notes. And of course, I'm joking. I'm just waiting for some more people to connect to their audio, which would mean I'm stalling. And yes, I am. So welcome. We'll have a short discussion, short presentation. It's called a webinar, so or an event. And this is an event that's called the most Agile question no one is asking. The question was unfortunately spoiled to you in the title. Unfortunately, it was a way of getting your attention, and we're going to discuss said question in a moment. My name is Tomasz Dzierżek, which it's probably for most of you or for most people outside Poland is going to be hard to pronounce. And there I said it. I'm from Poland. I'm Polish. So that's one thing. Okay, so let's just start. We'll have more opportunity to ask questions, to talk. In the end, we have 1 hour, and I intend to take 40-45 minutes of your time talking about the most Agile question no one is asking, and the rest I hope we can spend talking to each other. Okay, so let's go. By the way, you can always ask questions using the chat feature, which is located, I think, in the lower right corner, and there's also a Q&A panel when you can also ask questions. Then I will be looking at both. So if at any time I see something pop up, I'm going to reply to just that. So let's start with the most Agile. Let me just enable the view of my thumbnail so I know what's next. And we're going to start with an important thing, and this is such an important thing that I decided to do all the presentation in various shades of gray, or in white, black, and some bleak colors. I think because the important thing to ask and the premise, why we are asking this question, and it's a good time to ask the question. As you probably know, yesterday we had the 25 years of Scrum event with the new Scrum guide unveiled, down from 18 to 13 pages, which is the essence. And we might ask, what is the essence? What makes Agile Agile? Why are we even bothered with the Agile methods and the Agile frameworks and everything that comes with Agile? And well, of course there are many answers to that questions, and you can see it all over the world. People and companies are doing Agile transformations, and they are doing Agile in their own way. And some companies are doing like big Agile projects. Some other companies are doing small Agile transformations and trying to divide their entire departments into very small 5-6 people teams. So there are many ways of doing Agile, or so it seems, right? So let's just ask ourselves for a second, what makes Agile Agile? And I use the word project, and I'm going to use the word project in multiple ways throughout this short talk/webinar, because I've been asking myself lately, is Agile really about the Agile project? Is Agile really about the Agile software delivery, or whatever we want to call it? And I think we are forgetting very, or even more important question about the product itself. Many companies are doing projects, and as far as I remember, in the old version of Scrum, the old meaning even 2 days ago, there was only one usage of the word project within the Scrum guide. Now I think there are none. So maybe we should be more focused on the products. Right? That's the one of the things that got me thinking into this line of well, questioning myself and questioning other companies, what is really Agile all about. So this is it. So this is one question. The other question, it's not even a question, it's an observation. Right? And wherever you go, whatever you do, wherever you meet with people who are doing Agile, always like the ratio of Scrum Masters to product owners, like, I don't know, 60 to 10, so 61. Maybe I should say that. I was just remembering one last event when we were around 60 Scrum Masters, around 10 product owners, and I think the overall Agile mindset is not the original Agile Manifesto Agile mindset, but the one we see nowadays is focused way too much on the Scrum Masters and the Scrum process. For example, if you are using Scrum, don't forget that not everything that's Agile is Scrum, but yeah, we're more concerned with the process, with the framework, with the ways of doing things, with Agile techniques and tools and post-its. There, I said it, and we kind of forget about product owners, and that question is one that we just want to leave right there, and we'll go back to it. We'll circle back to it. I think around the end of this short presentation. Maybe I should call it a webinar. It definitely sounds better. Yeah. So one thing is, why are people doing Agile projects? And at my university, they really emphasize that project has a start date and a finish date. And what we do and what should product owners do should be developing useful products, useful, valuable products, and such an endeavor doesn't really sound like it has a start date and a finish date. Projects do. Scrum Masters see it all the time when they are doing sprint by sprint, all the Scrum events and everything that's concerned with Scrum. And I think we are kind of getting lost in all this. So if we're getting lost in all this, in how we use Scrum and how we use Agile frameworks nowadays, let's go back to the original, to the 2001 Agile Manifesto, right? And what I really want to talk about it, and what I really think the Agile way of work is really about, is about doing the most important thing right now. What's really what you should really be doing and focusing on today. Of course, we should have a vision, maybe a roadmap, or something like that, at the back of our head. But in its essence, Agile and Agile Manifesto, I think, is about delivering working products, and here it's those products again. And it's about doing the most important thing right now. So let's quote Agile Manifesto, one of the what's it called in the original? I remember how it's called in the Polish version right now. Principles of Agile Software Development. Yeah, that's the name of the page, where there are 12 different principles that we should follow if we want to be Agile, if we want to really follow the mindset of the creators of Agile Manifesto. So one of those rules is the simplicity, which very peculiar definition. simplicity is defined as the art of maximizing the amount of work not done, and it says that simplicity is essential. So why that definition and why is it essential? Well, we're going to spend next 20 or 30 minutes talking about it, but first let's tackle the definition. The art of maximizing the amount of work not done. We're not trying to do as much as we can. We're trying to do as little as possible, and that's being lazy, but in a smart way, like being lazy in a good way. But that means we have to do at least two things, because if we want to maximize the amount of work not done, first we have to identify the work to be done, and we have to identify what needs to be done. So that means the first step is going to get our backlogs, really, because that's what we use in Agile environments. It's going to get our backlogs full, and then in the second step, out of all those things we identified that are work to be done, we should select as little as possible, still so that the customer is happy, so that we bring value with our product, so that we earn money, because we don't want to just do cool stuff and then bankrupt. But the simplicity is I think it's an underrated principle of Agile, and people overlook it because it says precisely, maximize the amount of work not done. Identify as much work as you can, and then do only a little, but do it in a way that satisfies the customer, brings value, gets you money, and all that. So simplicity is one of the is actually the basis for the question. The question I hinted. I said it's going to be I think most important question, the most important Agile question. Almost no one is asking. So now we're getting to the root of it, the question, and I still have 72 slides before I show you the question, and you have to bear with me for all those slides because I found many cool pictures that I wanted to include. I'm just joking. The question is on the very next slide, and it's a very important one. I think it boils down to what Agile is really about, and I think it's a very underrated question. And it's a question that I asked back in the days when I was a system and business analyst, so many years ago. That was my favorite question when we were dealing with any kind of work, any kind of new requirement, any kind of thing to do, any idea, any request from the customer or stakeholders. My initial go-to question was always, what will happen if we don't do this? Just very simple question. What will happen if we just don't do this? If we totally omit the work that you think is essential? And surprisingly, very often the answer is we don't know, or the answer is nothing really. Someone is going to be angry, but in the grand scheme of things, nothing is going to happen. We're not going to lose the contract. Customer is not going to be less satisfied. Where there is not going to be any legal action. No one is going to miss that feature, and so on and so on. And that's got me thinking, and that's why I'm talking to you about that question, is that if we continue to ask that question to every single backlog item or every single thing we want to do, both in professional and our private lives, we can save so much time and effort, and we can be more agile. And of course, there are some ways we can prove it, and of course, the American scientists are the best at doing research in all weird kind of ways. And this is one of the research I found back in the days. I couldn't find it yesterday. I was looking to it, trying to maybe get the name of the researcher or the name of the scientist that did it. But I do remember they were American, and they concluded in one of the papers that the companies that ask 3 questions in regard what do they do have on average 7% better results than the companies that don't. And unfortunately I don't remember if the results were calculated in money, in time spent, just in revenue, in pure revenue. But we all know that those types of research, like people who wake up at 7 or at 7 a.m. are on average 15% healthier than people who wake up at 5 or whatever. Those are just a guesstimates, right? So it's more guess and estimate than it's actual science. But there is something, and I was reading about those companies that do ask those 3 questions. But they have a different mindset because, of course, one of the questions is the one I already mentioned. No, not this. This one. What will happen if we don't do it? But that's the number one of the 3 questions that get you 7% more results with your effort. So that's the initial question. That's the question. If I'm honest, that's the question is going to hate because I'm going to ask this question probably like 20 or 40 times per minute until we finish. But that's the first question. The second question those companies asked was a very important one that again almost no one asks. What can we do instead? And companies tend to ask this, and people in the companies don't ask questions, but people in the companies tend to ask those questions at the beginning when we are trying to decide whether we should do A or B, and that's the question we are really answering. What can we do instead? If we can do A, what are going to be our potential profits? What can we lose if we are going to do B? What are going to be the losses and maybe profits? And that puts us into a position when we're trying to evaluate the opportunity costs. And there are many problems with that opportunity cost statement. Like one big problem is that we're kind of bad at valuing alternative opportunities if they are different. And I remember another research by American scientists, my favorite, and it was again made in the US, and it was dealing with people who were offered either extra days off, because as you probably know, in the US they have very bad situation with the days off, the holiday days, the days you can just not go to work and go on vacation days, however you want to call it. And on average, I think they have only 10 or 12 days per year. In Poland, we have 26, plus I think 12 or 11 national holidays. That's almost 1 month guaranteed off, plus weekends, right? So in the US, they on average get only 10 days. And the research was about people who were offered one of 2 choices. Either you get 5 or 10 extra days, or you can choose the amount of money that's going to be the respective amount of money. So you can get either 5 or 10 extra days, or money for 5 or 10 days. You won't get extra days, but you'll get the money as if you worked more for 5 or 10 days. And it turns out that people cannot really compare those 2 choices, because one is about money, one is about free time, and that's something different for us. And we cannot really value those and put them next to each other and say, oh, this is a better deal, because in theory the deals are the same. But of course, for some people, free time is more valuable. For some other people, money is more valuable. So they don't have problems with choosing, because we all know whether we could use more money or more time, but they have problems in valuing those 2 propositions. So that's one problem with opportunity costs. If we are trying to decide whether to do something completely different. So that's one thing. And the second thing I always like to bring whenever we are talking about opportunity costs, is, I don't know if you've ever been at shady areas of internet when internet marketers are talking about their ideas and how they can make money online and all that stuff. I was for some weird reason I was reading some of that stuff a few years ago. Yeah, and it was a plenty of cool kids like 20, 21, 22-year-olds, and what always struck me was the very wrong way of thinking when they said, okay, last time I got a client for, let's say, $5,000 per day, so now I won't settle for anything less. So if someone offers me like a 2-hour job for 1,000, I'm not even going to get up from my bed. But that's the very naive way of thinking about opportunity costs, because if you don't have clients to fill 24 hours per day, the opportunity cost is not, I could be earning $5,000 per day, and I'm working only for $1,000 or for $2,000 for $1,000 per 2 hours. It's a very small amount of money. I would rather be doing $5,000 per day. But the problem is they don't have clients for $5,000 per day. So the opportunity cost is zero. So either you're going to do this and get $1,000, or you're going to sit in your or lay down in your bed and do nothing, and you earn zero. And that's putting that back to the perspective to Agile companies and companies doing Agile, I should say that, we sometimes assume we're going to get some results, whether in reality we don't. So that's the second policy, let's say that. And the third one is the toughest. And the third one brings us back to our initial first questions. What will happen if we don't do this? Because once we start, it's very hard not to continue, not to go that way. And the problem is we're always comparing alternatives in the context of choices we already made. So we already decided we're building an online app or mobile app, and we're completely ignoring all the other possibilities out there because we're so focused on the mobile app choice. We are comparing different mobile apps, or maybe apps for mobile and for smartwatch and all that, and we're ignoring all the other possibilities. And I'm not saying there always are other possibilities that are very different from what we're doing right now, but I'm saying we should always be thinking not in the context of the choices we already made, but in the context of all options possible. Meaning, if we are trying to decide whether we should do an item A from the backlog or item B from the backlog, let's think about what's not in the backlog. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this at all. And I've seen it, this year is a great example. Around March, April, I've seen when the lockdowns hit Poland, and it was a hard lockdown half a year ago, I've seen teams and companies going on with the backlogs as if nothing happened. And they were building great features for example, for speeding up the customer service that's done in person, in banks, for example. So why would you do why would your most valuable item in the backlog be customer service improvements when there are no customers in the offices, in the shops? So, but that's why we make this error, this fallacy. We're thinking only what's more important, what's the most important thing from the backlog, and we're not thinking outside of the backlog. So thinking outside of the box became thinking outside of the backlog. Okay, let's close the 3 questions that are worth 7%. First was what will happen if we don't do this. Second is what else we can do instead. And the third one is why. But I really think the why question is what will happen if we don't do this in disguise? Because how we can answer the why question? Either we're doing something for the profits, or we're doing something to avoid losses. So those two things are always are always answers to the question: what will happen if we don't do this? If we don't do this, we'll lose. If we don't do this, we're going to miss opportunities, and we're going to miss extra income or extra revenue. But yeah, there we have it. Those are three questions that are worth 7%. So better than the internet marketers. I'm not promising you 7,000% increase in value of your bitcoins. I'm just saying that just asking those three things about every single thing you do might improve your focus and might improve your agility, because that way you will be actually doing the most important thing that's out there to be done for you. And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying there are plenty of issues with that way of thinking, and I'm pretty sure your customers won't be happy, and your customers especially won't be happy if or when you say to them, I'm sorry, but we're not going to do this, right? No, that's a no. So I'm always saying that being an agile person should always be good at psychology and reverse psychology. So let's not say to our customers, we won't do it. Let's say we're not going to do it now. Or better yet, let's don't even present those options to our customer, because that way they cannot miss what they don't know was possible, right? So that's one way. Or if you want to be more transparent, tell them not now. Use the very good. I like it. The very good technique, Moscow. The very good prioritization technique called Moscow, where you assign labels, categories, priorities to all the items that you're considering, and the labels are must have, should have, could have, and won't have this time. Especially I think it's in the SDM, Agile PM, the Moscow variant. The last bit definitely there, it says won't have this time. So I've been on a project where for 4.5 years we always we discussed with one very important feature with our stakeholder, and it was from the very beginning. It was one of the most wanted things, one of the things our stakeholder really wanted. But every time we asked, okay, but what's more important, item A or item B? He said, okay, item B. But item A is really important to me, but item B is more important for the company right now. So for 4.5 years, we asked the same question: what will happen if we don't do this? Or what can we do instead? And there was always better work to be done instead, more important work to be done instead of this. And as you can probably guess, after 4.5 years of saying we're not going to do this just yet, let's just stay there for a couple more sprints or releases, and we never done it. We never done the very important piece that obviously was only a wish, something he wished for, not something that would be valuable to the product or to the company. So yeah, what will happen if we don't do this? We're in the section where we're discussing problems that come with the let me just clear that just for a moment. Problems that come with when we ask that question to our customers. What will happen if we don't do this? And very, very often customers said, "But you promised, right? You promised us you're going to do this. You gave us a product backlog item," and that's a problem. That's a big problem for all the product owners out there. That's a big problem for everyone involved in any kind of prioritization, because in psychology it's called endowment effect. If we have something, or if we believe we have something, we value it much, much greater than something that's only out there as an option, or or something we don't have. And again, let's circle back to, of course, American scientists, and it's a very cool research when they try to figure out how people value tickets for, I think it was American football games played in the universities. But those tickets for the finals were distributed throughout for the top students. So there's a very limited number of tickets available, and they were only distributed to top students. So scientists were calling and asking people who actually got the tickets for how much they would sell them. And they were calling and asking people who didn't get the tickets how much they are willing to pay for those tickets. And people who didn't have the tickets offered on average $170 for the final match ticket. People who already got the ticket valued them at $2,400. So it's more than 10 times, right? So it's 14 times more than, because they have the ticket. Because the action of selling the ticket is not just getting money, it's getting rid of the ticket that's very valuable because I have it in my hands. And in the same way, when we are working with our customers, stakeholders, it's very important that we don't present the product backlog as things we're going to do, because as we said in the very beginning, we're trying to use simplicity. We're trying to end up with as many backlog items not done as possible and happy customers. So not done items from the backlog and happy customers. So that's it. And endowment effect is going to harm our intentions, because once our stakeholder or client thinks he has it, it's something we promised. It's very hard to say, okay, I don't need it. That's why if we have a great feature in mind, client or stakeholder didn't ask for it, but we know it's going to be a huge success. But we are not sure whether or not we are going to have the time to develop it. We shouldn't tell about it to the customer, because once we tell about, there is a cool thing, of course our customer says, yes, I want it. Because that's the one way of working as a product owner, working with customers, is to not ask the do you want it question, or what, it's to ask instead, what do you want more, A or B? Because if you ask, do you want A, you'll hear yes, and if you ask, do you want B, you also hear yes. The endowment effect, I would love to be there right now, but I'm not. I'm in Warsaw, Poland, by the way. Let's go back to the problem with the opportunity costs, where we asked people whether they want few days extra or the equivalent of those few days extra in money. So a few days extra days off, or the equivalent of those days off in cash. And strangely enough, because of the endowment effect, once they decide they want one or another, they are not going to change their mind. Why? Because if we ask something, okay, you can get rid of those 5 extra days off and get some extra cash instead, that person is not going to view it like, I'm going to get extra cash. That person is going to view it as they're going to take away my days off. And that's a real big problem. That's a real big problem for the most question, what will happen if we don't do this? So we cannot start with saying, okay, this is product backlog and this is everything we want to do. We have to start with this is our working list. This is what we are going to probably work on, but we have to prioritize it and reprioritize it every single sprint, or example, regularly if we're not using Scrum. Speaking of why people don't want to back off bad investments, the another fallacy we're facing, and that's again psychology thing, and it's real. It's the sunk costs fallacy. That's the reason why people invest, for example, in the stock market. The stocks go down, and instead of sell and minimize their losses, they're waiting and holding to the falling stocks, and it goes lower and lower and lower because, well, it has to rebound eventually, right? So they are very clung to sunk costs, and this is the same way when we start something. And the best example of that is the Berlin-Brandenburg airport that finally opened this month. 3 weeks ago, I think. But the first date, the initial open date, the completion of the Berlin-Brandenburg airport was in 2011, so 9 years ago. And they over and over were having immense problems with the plans, with the safety, with everything. It was a terrible airport. And in the end, they paid, I think, 4 times more than they planned. And okay, yes, it's finally open. But maybe, just maybe, when they spend 2 million euros, I think they're about to 8 million right now, also billion. It'd be nice to build an airport for 2 billion euros. So initial was around 1.7, I think. They planned to spend it. And when they hit the wall and say, okay, we spent 3 billion euro on that airport and it's still not functional, it's still not open, the sunk costs prevented them from saying, okay, let's just start all over. Let's just build another airport somewhere else because this is not going to work. And it would probably be cheaper because let's say they had 2 or 3 billion euros and they eventually went to 8. So maybe instead of paying 5 extra to finish that, maybe they could start all over from scratch somewhere else and pay $1.5 billion, 2 billion. That would be 4 versus 8. But humans don't think like that. And humans don't think like that because humans don't like to fail. And that's one of the reasons I think we stopped doing agile experiments. We stopped doing agile should be trying this. If it doesn't work, try something else. If it doesn't work, try something else. If it doesn't work, try something else. But we are afraid of losing. We are afraid of asking, okay, so if we will try and if it won't work, what will do? What will happen if we don't do this? What will happen if we won't succeed? But because everyone nowadays thinks we have to get things right, we have to succeed, we have to go through with it, we have to finish it, no matter the costs. And no matter the costs turn into Berlin-Brandenburg and sunk cost fallacy, and we have to finish turns into no agile experiments, because if we cannot fail, we won't be doing risky stuff or new stuff or innovative stuff. And how we can expect to be better than our competition if we're not risking and not doing experiments? So that's the question. That's the question I wanted to leave with you. There are still 2 things like a postscriptum I would like to add, and it's not going to take more than 5 minutes. I like to bring the classic management book by Edward Jordan, Death March. And it's a fantastic book. It's a very old book about projects. You guessed it. I think it was in IT as well. But in general, in corporate America, about projects that were doomed to fail from the very beginning. So you're not trying to complete the project, you're just trying to get as much as you can out of it. So it's brilliant book. It's very sarcastic. Like I said, it's very old. I think it's 80s, 90s, something like that. And it's some kind of like tongue-in-cheek manual for surviving those death marches, filled with brilliant advice, like if they're giving you extra people and you don't need them, take them anyway. Worst case scenario, they will be making coffee for you, but who knows what's going to happen in 6 or 12 months. Maybe you'll need them then. But for now, even if you have budget, and it's not your budget, it's company, so who cares? Just get them. So you kind of get an idea what the book is about. And like I said, it's very cool, it's very funny, and it's very valuable because there are good points being made throughout the book. And why I'm bringing this book right now in an Agile context, because sometimes we work in an environment that are as un-Agile as possible. For example, we're working for the government, or we're going for government contracts. We've got every single, 7,000 features listed that down to the color of the radio buttons and everything else, right? So those requirements won't help you do an Agile project. There's no way you could ask what will happen if we don't do this, because the answer is you're going to lose the contract and lose all the money. And if you have 7,000 requirements in an Excel spreadsheet, and Okay, the worst one I've seen was 1,300 rows, but I'm sure there are bigger some bigger ones out there. So you cannot work in an agile environment, and this book I think gives you a very good answer to what to do if you want to be agile and work in an agile environment, and if you're facing very unagile company and an unagile space. And this book says go somewhere else before it fails. And like I said, being a brilliant book written in a very sarcastic way, it says get as much as you can out of the company, trainings, money, travels, whatever, and then get out. Because if it's a that much, if it's a project that's doomed to fail, you're not getting any good out of it. And of course, I'm half joking, half advising you to do such thing. But I want to use that segue to go to one of the last things I want to say. I think the biggest issue, as I view it, is that we're focused too much on projects and trying on processes and tools. Sadly, not actual deliverance of work. But the second largest issue is that we do not even try to solve business cases and build products. We merely run agile projects. And what do I mean by solve business cases? Very often stakeholders and clients come to us with the solution, not the problem. I need an app that's going to do this, this, and this. Why? I'm going back to the why questions. You see how everything is connected? Why? Why do you need an app like that? Because I need to build reports. But you have reports in your software already, or in your database. You don't need an extra app. We can just export it to a BI tool and just show it to you. Really? And you'll be surprised how many customers are thinking about products and about solutions and not about their business problems. So I would say, if someone asks me what the Agile is really about, I would say it's about delivering value and solving business problems, solving business cases, business problems, and yes, and also building products. But those products have to be built to solve some cases, right? To help the customers, help the stakeholders, help our company, help someone do something. And it's, like I said in the beginning, it's very fortunate time I'm able to speak about it, because with the yesterday's update of the Scrum Guide, there was a product goal introduced. So people around the world will have to explicitly state, why are you building this project? Why what all those backlog items are about? What are you trying to achieve? And the product goal, as stated in the vaguely, even more vague Scrum Guide, is some point, some view, some future snapshot. That's the good word. Some future snapshot of the product with all that we wanted to achieve, or some things that we want to achieve. So we're traveling in our mind. We're traveling in time, future, like 10 months, and or 5 months, or 3 months, or wherever. And we're asking questions. Okay, how will our product look like? What business problems will it solve? And that's an awesome way. That's how I want to conclude. And I think it's not as bad as it sounds. That's why the last slide is colorful again, not just in black and white. So I would like to. Those are my notes, by the way, on the post-it. I wasn't joking. I would like to thank you for the participating, and I think I can enable audio for all people. I think you have audio available. At least that's what WebEx says. If not, you can always ask questions in the Q&A box, and then in the chat. I'll try to figure out if the microphones are on. Of course, if you want to solve your Agile problems, that's what this and Secure Academy is all about. And if you want me or other Agile coaches or or anyone else to look at your problems, your backlogs, your issues, maybe, then those are the ways to contact with us: the website, the email, and the company on LinkedIn. Okay, I have one person saying that they don't have any questions. Thank you. Nice evening. Yes, it's evening already, so I think it's also evening where you are. And yeah, if anyone wants to comment, talk, get in touch. You can find me. My name is on the first slide, and you can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure that you probably will need to copy and paste my surname, or look for the bald guy that does Agile. Okay, I think that I have. Yeah, I think I found the way. So to enable your microphones, no, unfortunately not. So if you have anything, I would love you to write down. Some of you are already writing at the chat. Okay. Sadly, because I was expecting maybe we could get a little talk. I can unmute all, but I don't know. I'm sure it's not that. It's not that. What should we make decision in the case if the answer is we don't know to the question number one? Okay. What will happen if we don't do this? And the question is we don't know. Great question, great answer. Let's just brainstorm and get the worst possible idea, the worst case scenario we could find. And if it's not scary, then let's not do this. It's a strategy we all use if we find an old email we didn't answer, right? You look at your inbox, you find an old email, and you say, oops, I was supposed to answer it like a week ago. So maybe I'll just wait. Maybe nothing bad will happen. Maybe nothing bad will come out of it. So that would be my answer. Let's try to figure out the worst case scenario, and then definitely we can figure something out. If it's scary enough, maybe we should do it. If it's not scary enough, we should wait and monitor. Of course, monitor, because that's how it is. I'm going to risk unmuting you all, even if you just want to say goodbye. That will be okay with me, but I'm going to click the button because let's see what happens.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, yeah, it's not that bad. It's not like a huge background noise. Really? So if you have any questions, any thoughts, anything you want to discuss, I'm still here. And if you want to go and grab a beer or some wine or whatever, it's raining outside, so that's why I'm thinking it's a good weather to grab a drink. Then by all means, also do. I just wanted to hear something from you, maybe see if you are facing the same problems, maybe we can walk together or something like that. You know, always a good idea to get to know each other. And if I don't hear anything, then I'll say that. Yes. Okay. So then it was an hour well spent, I hope, and I hope I give you some things to think about. And if you are doing Agile in your companies, then maybe you want to reconsider how you're doing it, and if it's really what it should be about. And if you're not doing that, maybe that's the way you can start and introduce. It's a nice way to introduce yourself to the Agile world. Let's say that. Like I said, here's a ways to contact us if you want to stay in touch, learn more about such quick and I hope informative webinars and much more. Write down. I always wanted to go to say subscribe, but it's not YouTube, so don't subscribe. Write to us and have an awesome evening. Thank you very much, and hopefully see you soon.